Welcome back, guys. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Services issued a recall for nearly 6,000 pounds of raw ground beef so far due to possible contamination. Now, I want you guys to take a look at the screen. Here's a look at the problems identified that have sparked this recall and warning for the risk of possible consumption of contaminated beef with foreign objects. The FSIS, which is the Food Safety and Inspection Service, has warned consumers not to use meat produced and packed on August 19 by a company named Skyline Provisions Incorporated. The items subject to the recall are the ones that you see on the screen here. This is extremely important, and not just because of the possible health risks and concerns for death if consumed, but also how close we are to Thanksgiving. With that being said, happy Thanksgiving early, or if you're watching this on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And also, Squirrel Tribe shared in a recent video some very shocking and concerning things happening with deer meat and venison out there. So for all my seasonal hunters, deer hunters, please go check out Squirrel Tribe and her latest videos. Take a look at the screen. This is one of her videos that I'm referring to, and she has many more with so much important and valuable information to share. Check out her Patreon too. That's where she goes deeper into these topics without having to dance around YouTube's policies and guidelines and the rules, or play by those silly games that they continuously throw out there. I'll drop a link below in the description so you guys can check it out. So they said that the beef is being contaminated with a foreign object, and this recall affects meat shipped to 8 U.S. states. The products in question were produced and packed on August 19 by Skyline Provisions Incorporated and included 2 types of ground beef, differentiated by their item numbers and fat content, both in 20-pound carton boxes, okay? Now, my wife, Michelle, is very aware of these dangers and has taken extreme caution, and I am very grateful and thankful for that. And she does this to make sure that the food that we eat is safe, and especially our meats and beef products. Now, I'll add a link in the description for where she buys ours if you guys care to know. All grass-fed, meticulously cared for, processed, packaged, and delivered with care. And they also alerted how the recall primarily impacts people who live in these 8 states specifically, okay? So if you live in Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont, or Wisconsin, or know anyone who does, then please pay close attention. So right now, they're saying that it's unclear which specific institutions have received the meat, but it is also unlikely to be found in household kitchens. I don't know how many of you guys are buying 20-pound boxes of meat, but the recall was initiated following a customer complaint about finding a foreign object in the meat during food preparation. And that makes me now wonder what this foreign object was that was found, because it had to be substantial to notice while preparing the meat, right? And fortunately, so far, there have been no confirmed reports of adverse reactions or illnesses related to the consumption of these products. It also makes you want to kind of, for me, go vegetarian or possibly vegan, really, when you learn about all the problems that we are having with our meat and how they pump the meat packaging with carbon monoxide that adds a very strong odor, slimy texture, and is also the reason why you see bulging packages of spoiled meat on the shelves after they've marked down the meat products from their extremely inflated prices just to move it before they're forced to throw it away in the trash out back behind the store. Now, they say that they fill up the meat with these potentially harmful gases solely for cosmetic reasons. It's a marketing strategy to try and trick us consumers and shoppers into buying their low grade and poor quality products at the highest prices possible. Similar to, I think over in China, they were painting pigs black and wetting cardboard boxes, like all these strategies ultimately to provide less quality and produce higher profits. And what they do is when packaging the food, they put these gases in it. And this means that it's used to maintain these gases or enhance the meat's color rather than to inhibit the growth of microorganisms or any other helpful, healthy, or beneficial reasons behind putting these gases in the meats besides, like I said, increasing their potential profit by extending the shelf life by up to 3 times longer, which I got to tell you guys, I'm not a scientist, but that can't be healthy, in my opinion. But what they do is when packaging the food, especially for meat and poultry, fish too, it makes it appear bloated, which could be an indication that the product is unsafe for consumption. This bloating can be caused by excess gases produced by bacteria in spoiled food, and food safety experts and the USDA both advise that if the packaging looks puffy, feels unusual, or the food has an off smell, it may contain harmful bacteria. Obviously, spoiled food can lead to food poisoning, and this can happen even if it's not past its expiration date. And I always stick to a few golden rules, and I generally avoid food with off smells past the best buy date or showing other spoilage signs regardless of the packaging's appearance. Meanwhile, the American beef industry is currently at a critical juncture marked by a significant reduction in the U.S. cattle herd and shifting trade dynamics. And this situation is leading to increased domestic beef prices and changes in international trade patterns, most notably identified by several key points like the decline in U.S. cattle numbers. This is not me pointing back to last year or earlier this year or when thousands of cattle were seen just keeled over. But the decline in U.S. cattle numbers attributed to the U.S. is experiencing its lowest cattle numbers in decades. As of January, the U.S. beef cow herd was at its smallest since 1962 with 28.9 million head. By July, the number slightly increased to 29.4 million, but this was still about 3% lower than the previous year. This decline is largely attributed to severe droughts that have damaged grazing lands. And I think I also saw stories of cattle farmers having to sell or auction off their herd because they just couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford to maintain their herd anymore. We also had the impact on beef imports and exports. As a result of the reduced cattle numbers, the U.S. is importing instead record amounts of beef and exporting less. This shift is affecting the global beef market and the domestic availability of beef in the U.S. That's that old USDA grade A beef. I would prefer it come from the U.S. Some of this foreign meat, I don't know. You know how these businesses, they operate. They know that they're sending you garbage and junk and trash, but they also know that when they're found out, if they're found out, they'll pay a fine or a fee or whatever. They've got it baked into the price. We also have rising beef prices. Consumers are already feeling the impact of these changes, with the price of beef and veal in the U.S. having risen by 8.9% compared to the previous year. And this price increase is reflected in the Consumer Price Index report for October. Challenges for U.S. beef exporters. Pete Bonds, a Texas-based cattle producer, highlights that U.S. beef exporters are not only dealing with higher domestic prices, but also a stronger U.S. dollar, making American beef less competitive in international markets. Industry outlook does not look good, and Bonds expressed a pessimistic view of the future of the U.S. beef industry, suggesting that its prospects may be more favorable outside the United States. And the impact on major producers such as Tyson Foods, which, take a look here, you might want to go check out this video over on Squirrel Tribe, which is a major U.S. producer for meat products, reported significant impacts in its recent earnings report. And for the September quarter, Tyson's beef segment generated substantial sales, but faced an operating loss with a decrease in volume and an increase in average prices. That translates to it's going to cost us more on the store shelves when we go shopping, when we're going out to eat, things like that. And these factors combined indicate a challenging period for the U.S. beef industry, affecting consumers, producers, and the global meat market. And if you guys want to know more about what's happening to our food, domestic and internationally imported, then watch this video next, okay? Make sure you go check out this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you appreciate videos like these and the time that it takes to make them, then just smack the like button and subscribe.